He is the strongest sacred swordsman. She is the strongest ice calamity witch. Though originally from opposing factions, they fell into love after the girl accidentally slipped and stumbled.
Wait, hold on, Fiend. What do you think you're doing?
You fell.
Iska, as one of the Heavenly Empire's saint disciples, deliberately released a witch from the enemy nation. As punishment, he was demoted to an ordinary soldier and imprisoned for a year. However, recognizing him as the Empire's youngest saint disciple and an exceptional talent, the higher-ups granted him a chance to atone by accomplishing a mission: eliminate Alice, the second princess of the enemy nation with royal blood and the title of Ice Calamity Witch. The Heavenly Empire where Iska belongs and the nebulous sovereignty where Alice resides have been locked in a century-long war as irreconcilable enemies. Iska accepted the mission without hesitation. The next day, he joined former comrades to head to the front line and subjugate the witch. En route, they were ambushed by enemies. Iska and his companions swiftly dodged the attack.
Jean, dodge!
The fact that foes infiltrated Imperial territory suggested breached frontline defenses. The group decided to resolve the battle quickly and rush to reinforce allies. Under teammate Nene's artillery cover, Iska and Jin swiftly eliminated all astral mages on the battlefield.
Incinerate!
There's no way that's possible!
Why do you think I did so much training?
But the conflict escalated as a colossal gargoyle suddenly materialized before them. Iska ordered his teammates to reinforce the front line while he alone confronted the foe. The gargoyle's controller mocked Iska's audacity, but in the next instant, her attacks were effortlessly nullified. Iska's black sword could directly sever astral powers. Before the maid could recover from shock, Iska pressed his blade against her neck and demanded the Ice Calamity Witch's location. The maid refused to yield and attempted to resist, only to be effortlessly subdued by Iska. At that moment, an intense wave of freezing energy surged forth. Iska instinctively leaped back and demanded whether the newcomer was the Ice Calamity Witch. Alice confirmed her identity through action rather than words. As Alice unleashed her frigid aura, the surrounding dozens of miles instantly transformed into glacial terrain. After exchanging names, with his target now before him, Iska charged without hesitation to capture her. Alice conjured ice walls to block his advance, while summoning countless ice swords that rained down like droplets toward Iska. Drawing his second sword from his waist, Iska deflected the barrage, yet sustained successive grazes from the icy blades. Alice relentlessly mocked him, until Iska awakened the white sword's power. Replicating ice swords of equal magnitude to counter hers for, the white sword could copy opponents' astral powers. Even so, he failed to breach Alice's ice shields.
If I give up now, who'll put an end to this senseless war?
His words struck a chord with Alice. Though adversaries, they coincidentally shared an identical aspiration: to end this prolonged and tedious war, creating a peaceful world free from persecution. As Alice began articulating her thoughts, she lost her footing and fell predictably, landing in Iska's arms. Their gazes locked intensely as palpable flutters of attraction surged through their chests. Unexpectedly, beneath Alice's frosty exterior lay a bashful maiden's heart. Mortified by the awkward atmosphere, she hastily summoned her mount and fled the scene. Yet fate's entanglement proved inescapable. This encounter had irrevocably bound their destinies. Upon returning, Alice remained restless, the memory of Iska's embrace lingering persistently. Deeming this state unsustainable, she resolved to shift her mindset by attending an opera. Accompanied by her maid Rin, she visited a neutral city. The performance depicted a forbidden romance between a princess and a knight from a rival nation, its tragic fate reducing Alice to tears. A kind stranger behind her offered a handkerchief, which she accepted gratefully. After the play, Alice sought to thank the manonly to freeze in mutual shock when lights illuminated Iska's face. Overwhelmed by equal parts indignation and embarrassment, Alice immediately challenged him to combat but was restrained by Rin, who reminded her that all conflicts were prohibited in neutral territories under penalty of collective condemnation. Forced to abandon physical confrontation, Alice resorted to verbal sparring. Yet conscious of public scrutiny and potential backlash for fraternizing with an enemy national, she temporarily spared him, instinctively performing a parting courtesy before departing. After leaving the theater, Alice confirmed that Iska was not following her and went to a famous pasta restaurant. Yet fate played its whimsical trick. They met again moments after parting. The table had been reserved in advance by Iska. With all other seats occupied, Alice reluctantly shared the table with him. Rin expressed that dining with an enemy national was inappropriate, but Alice declared that as a princess, she could not back down. The accidental touch of their fingers while passing the menu instantly flushed both their faces red. As they politely deferred to each other on ordering first, Iska proposed a solution, placing the menu between them to decide together. However, Alice's gaze unconsciously drifted to Iska's face. When ordering, they simultaneously uttered the exact same dish name, as if sharing a telepathic connection. Not only did their minds align, but they also shared identical preferences, both favoring chilled tomato pasta. As their animated conversation seemed to make them forget their opposing identities, Rin interrupted to halt the exchange. Upon returning home, Rin advised the distracted Alice to bury the day's events forever, for their conflicting positions doomed any relationship to futility, and entanglement would lead only to inescapable turmoil. Though both understood this truth, they remained haunted by lingering thoughts of each other. The next day, Alice was summoned by the Queen. Upon learning she had clashed with Iska in the forest days prior, her mother, the Queen, demanded she avoid him, as their interactions appeared key to awakening their ancestors, thus instructing Alice to stay off the battlefield temporarily until Iska's identity was clarified. The Queen's order led Alice to seek another distraction. To prevent coincidental encounters with Iska, she traveled to a distant city for an art exhibition. Yet destiny intervened again, they reunited once more. Iska's presence stemmed from his commander gifting him an exhibition ticket after noticing his poor focus during training, urging him to unwind. He invited Alice to explore together, but she refused, resolved to sever ties, and headed alone to the gallery only to become lost in alleyways. Returning to the square, she encountered Iska, who had finished viewing the exhibition. Noticing her absence in the gallery, he deduced her predicament and offered guidance. Though resistant, Alice relented when Iska declared, "Art transcends borders," easing her reservations. A shared painting sparked dialogue as they speculated the artist's intent. To repay his guidance, Alice bought him a drink. The gallery visit bridged their distance further, leading them to exchange ages, revealing Alice was a year older. Exhausted from recent sleeplessness, Iska dozed off mid-conversation. His delicate features captivated Alice until he suddenly slumped against her, their fleeting tranquility poised to vanish. The next day, Iska received orders from the Empire's higher-ups to capture the Ice Calamity Witch to restore his status as a saint disciple. Torn between apprehension and necessity, Iska agonized over whether to truly seize Alice for the Empire, yet he desperately needed the saint disciple title to petition the Emperor to halt the war. After inner turmoil, he resolved to meet Alice in the neutral city to voice his intentions directly. Meanwhile, Alice faced pressure from her mother, who sensed her daughter's attachment to Iska. The Queen admonished Alice, recounting the Empire's past atrocities against them, reminding her not to forget her identity or entertain delusions of a future with an enemy national. Yet in truth, after their previous day's encounter, Alice had already developed feelings for Iska. As Alice sat dazed, Rin entered with a report on Iska, revealing he was the Empire's youngest saint disciple and one of its rarest elites. Shocked and puzzled, Alice wondered why she had never heard of such a formidable figure until learning Iska had been demoted and imprisoned immediately after promotion for releasing a witch captured by the Empire, never having fought on the battlefield. Confused by this contradiction, as he had fervently pursued capturing her during their first forest encounter, Alice resolved to visit the neutral city the next day to confirm Iska's true intentions. Fate intervened once more as the two coincidentally reunited, though this meeting bore no resemblance to a date, with both sides accompanied by allies. Captain Miz's presence stemmed from detecting Iska's troubled demeanor the prior night when he requested leave. Concerned for her subordinate, she insisted on accompanying him. Upon realizing the woman before them was the Ice Calamity Witch, Miz panicked. To avoid drawing attention, the group retreated to the wilderness outside the city. During the subsequent conversation, Alice resolved her lingering doubts. The witch Iska had risked everything to free years ago was merely a 12-year-old girl whose weak abilities posed no real threat, yet the Empire sought to condemn her as a war sacrifice. Disgusted by such brutality, Iska had acted on his own. In contrast, Alice, a princess of pure lineage and the Empire-dreaded Ice Calamity Witch, could be captured and used as a bargaining chip for peace negotiations between the two nations, ostensibly to end the war. Yet this notion was delusional. As Nebulus's hatred for the Empire ran bone-deep even with Alice as a hostage, the Queen would never yield. Negotiations were impossible. Though Alice equally loathed the Empire, the discussion clarified Iska's true character, prompting her to propose he abandon the Empire and become her knight. Before Iska could respond, a rift tore through the sky, from which descended Grand Witch Nebulous, progenitor of all witches. She who once plunged the entire empire into chaos single-handedly, still harbored undiminished hatred after countless years.
Obliterate them!
Her devastating strike resonated with the astral spirits, while the queen sensed the progenitor's breached seal. Iska expressed confusion over the indiscriminate attack, while Alice speculated it might be the astral spirit's automatic defense. Though uncertain what had triggered their ancestors' reaction, Alice deemed her actions excessively violent and attempted to persuade her to stop. Nebulous, however, ignored her. Seeing Alice accompanied by an Imperial, Nebulous unleashed magic toward her. Fortunately, Rin summoned a gargoyle to block the strike, but Rin herself sustained severe burns from the intense flames. Iska urged Miz to evacuate her for treatment, then drew his twin swords to confront the threat. Upon seeing the black sword, Nebulous realized it had awakened her, as she recognized Iska's Mentora revelation that stunned him. Without explanation, Nebulous launched another devastating magical assault. Enraged, Alice accused Nebulous of being unworthy as the nation's hero for disregarding her kin. Nebulous retorted that heroes could not save the world, asserting her philosophy differed little from the empires both sought to conquer through force. For Iska and Alice, who yearned for peace, this posed yet another formidable obstacle. Resolving to return Nebulous to slumber, they struggled against the progenitor witch's overwhelming power. Thus, casting aside mutual reservations, they joined forces to counterattack. Caught in the powerful energy blast, Alice staggered, yet Iska pressed forward undeterred. As the two now understood each other's resolve implicitly, Alice conjured an ice staircase with her magic, while Iska manifested frost flowers in his hands to counter Nebulous's onslaught. The ice shield he wielded materialized only because Alice had transferred her power to him moments prior. Seizing Nebulous's momentary lapse, Iska severed her wings with a single slash, sending her plummeting back into the rift to resume her slumber. After the battle, Iska addressed Alice's earlier proposal, stating he could not join her faction due to their conflicting allegiances. Though disappointed, Alice refrained from insisting further. They would remain adversaries, yet now shared a temporary truce. This is a curse known as the Astral Crest, branding its bearers as witches. Now, the Vortex, the source from which witches are born, is set to reappear after years of dormancy. The Empire aims to intercept and destroy it, while the Nebulous Nation seeks to claim it. Meanwhile, Iska and his squad were playing slot machines. Their reason for gambling stemmed from their superior informing Miz days earlier about an imminent critical mission, urging her team to enjoy their remaining leave. This made Miz fear the mission's peril and resolve to gamble for funds to purchase a cutting-edge armored combat vehicle, ensuring an escape route if danger arose. Yet fortune eluded her, draining bucket after bucket of chips. As the group dashed between slot machines, Alice and Rin entered the venue. Alice showed no interest in the desire-filled environment, but Rin had brought her there to avoid another accidental encounter with Iska in neutral cities. Rin suggested Alice try beginner-friendly slot machines, joking that the goddess of victory might favor her. Mentioning victory, Alice abruptly declared she needed an auspicious date to settle her rivalry with Iska. Rin retorted that duels weren't weddings requiring date picking, causing Alice to flush red with embarrassmenta reaction confirming Rin's guess. Rin warned her not to indulge unrealistic hopes, as their bond would never gain acceptance. Ironically, while unlucky in love, Alice struck the jackpot on her first pull. Rin rushed to cash the prize as Nine, drawn by the commotion, marveled that the gold coins could buy a combat vehicle. Alice generously gifted the coins to Nine, as a princess had no use for them. Notably this time, Alice and Iska did not cross paths. Alice noticed a fortune-telling shop on her way back and decided to consult the diviner about when she might reunite with the one she missed. The fortune-teller spread out the cards, drew two representing lovers, and declared the person Alice sought was nearby. Dismissing the prediction, Alice left only for Iska to arrive shortly after, requesting his own reading. The fortune-teller repeated the same words verbatim, telling Iska the one he sought was close. The next day, Iska's team was summoned to a briefing where Commander Risha outlined their mission. The Vortex, the catalyst for witch births, would soon re-emerge after years. If seized by the Nebulous Nation, It would threaten the Empire, so they were tasked with investigating and preventing this. Meanwhile, Alice, lost in thought while holding a handkerchief, was informed by Rin about the vortex and the Empire's military dispatch. The delay in this intel stemmed from House Zoa's deliberate obstruction. Beyond Alice's House Lu, the nebulous nation included Houses Zoa and Hydra, with House Zoa clearly aiming to monopolize the astral energy. Concurrently, Iska's squad arrived at the designated military base, where soldiers were ordered to explore the ravine for the vortex. Wherever Iska went, Alice insisted on following after all. They hadn't met in some time.
It's simply my duty as a princess.
The next day, to investigate the vortex, Iska and his team arrived at the nearby ravine. While successfully locating the vortex, they encountered another squad. As close friends, Ms. warmly greeted them, but the group suddenly turned hostile. Shannarat and her companions were revealed as spies from the nebulous nation, infiltrating the Empire. Shannarat then electrocuted Ms., but her allies were swiftly incapacitated by Nameless, the 8th seat of the Saint Disciples, who had long suspected the traitors. Seeing the situation deteriorate, Shannarat fled under her comrade's cover, but Nameless pursued relentlessly. His thrown dagger was intercepted by Iska, as Nameless had aimed to pierce Miss as well. Though irritated, Nameless refrained from further conflict, as the vortex had already fallen into Nebulous's hands, and focused on executing his original plan, bombing both the vortex and the enemy base. Meanwhile, Alice arrived at the ravine, intent on protecting the vortex and preventing House Zoa from monopolizing it. However, the astral energy proved far weaker than anticipated. Even immersing themselves in it would yield minimal benefits. Upon spotting the captured Miss, Alice panicked, fearing Miz might reveal their secret meeting in the neutral city. The tactless Miz nearly blurted it out, but Rin knocked her unconscious. Realizing Iska must be nearby if his captain was present, Alice grew exhilarated. Ignoring Rin's protests, she rushed to the enemy camp, claiming she would settle her rivalry with Iska, though her true motive was an irrepressible urge to see him. Unbeknownst to Alice, Iska and his team infiltrated the nebulous nation's stronghold to rescue their captured captain, causing the two to miss each other entirely. Suddenly, a missile plummeted from the skyvidence of the Empire's ongoing bombardment, leaving limited time for the rescue. Under his teammates' cover, Iska breached the base's interior, located Miz, and freed her. When Shannarat attempted resistance, Iska effortlessly neutralized her with a single sword strike. At that moment, a girl named Kissing appeared, unleashing countless thorny vines that enveloped and disintegrated incoming missiles mid-air. Kissing, recognized as a thorn witch like Alice due to her pure lineage, assailed Iska with decomposing thorns, only for his blade to counter them all. Yet her thorns regenerated, and flames from an explosion engulfed Iska. Meanwhile, Alice stormed the enemy's headquarters seeking him, but found it deserted. Rin suddenly shoved Alice aside, taking an injury herself as Nameless materialized before them. Already frustrated at missing Iska, Alice channeled her rage toward Nameless after Rin's injury. Nameless attacked immediately, but Alice repelled him with ice projectiles, which he dodged and hurled back. Rin intercepted them just in time. Apologizing for underestimating Nameless, Alice vowed to honor their clash by unleashing her full power. Her ice domain instantly transformed the surroundings into a frozen masterpiece spanning miles, though Nameless escaped. The explosions echoing from the base now seemed to stir a realization in Alice. Meanwhile, Iska emerged unscathed from the explosion, as his black sword could sever astral powers. Witnessing this, Kissing released her full power. Though formidable, she ultimately lacked autonomy, functioning as a mere tool. Seizing an opening, Iska closed in and knocked her unconscious with his sword's hilt. Fearing further Imperial missile strikes, he prepared to evacuate with her when a masked figure ambushed them. The assailant hoisted Kissing onto his shoulder and abruptly kicked Miz into the vortex. Iska leapt in immediately to rescue his captain. Alice arrived just in time to see this and plunged in without hesitation. While Iska managed to grab Miss, his lack of magical energy trapped them both until a voice he longed to hear rang out. Alice demanded he take her hand, vowing to duel him properly later. As their hands clasped tightly, the contact left Alice momentarily flustered. But as they attempted to escape, the vortex erupted violently, its energy tearing Alice and Iska apart and scattering them to separate locations. Enraged by this outcome, Alice seethed with frustration. Since their last hard-won reunion ended in forced separation, Alice had been in a constant daze. Witnessing the princess's longing, Rin suggested directly seeking him out in the neutral city, where they had serendipitously met multiple times. Yet after waiting for 3 days at their usual meeting spot with no sign of Iska, Rin speculated he might have perished. Alice, however, adamantly believed he still lived. Determined, she resolved to split up with Rin to continue searching. Troubled by Alice's obsession with an imperial soldier, Rin grew concerned. Though Alice was the next queen candidate, her position remained precarious. Not only were other contenders eyeing the throne, but even her sisters planned to vie for it. Meanwhile, Alice remained entangled in her emotions. Rin decided to sever her ties to Iska. Despite her profound dismay at failing to find him, Alice refused to relent, analyzing potential locations Iska might visit using a heavily marked map. Meanwhile, Ms. was moved to tears. As they discussed their next mission, she felt slight discomfort in her arm. Rolling up her sleeve, she stunned everyone. The astral crest, a mark symbolizing witches, had appeared on her arm. Analysis swiftly concluded it resulted from her earlier fall into the vortex. Statistically, 99% of people would not be possessed even by the strongest astral spirits, yet she was the rare 1 in 100 exception. Overwhelmed, Ms. collapsed to the floor, knowing her life would be forfeit if the witch-hating empire discovered this. Watching her despair, Iska proposed 2 choices: surrender to imperial authorities, which might grant her a monitored yet survivable life, or conceal the astral crest and continue as their captain. He vowed to stand by her regardless. Miss chose to hide the crest to stay with the team. The next day, Iska took her to the neutral city to lay low. Seeing the peaceful scenery, he reassured her he would end the war, ensuring an era where hiding the crest would be unnecessary. His encouragement revitalized Miss, who left to buy drinks, leaving Iska alone in deep contemplation. At this moment, fate intertwined the two who longed for each other. Alice had many things she wanted to say to him, yet now she found herself unsure where to begin, creating an awkward atmosphere. Iska shifted the topic by inviting her to sit down first. Alice wondered why Iska was sitting there alone in a daze. Upon hearing he was troubled by something, she became intrigued and urged him to share, only to be interrupted by Rin's voice. Rin brought out the drink she had purchased for Alice, and noticing Iska's presence, politely handed him a bottle as well. Yet the moment Iska took a sip, he collapsed onto the chair. Rin had laced the drink with sedatives. She had not expected Iska to accept the beverage from her so readily. Rin's intention was to teach Iska a lesson, hoping he would distance himself from Alice voluntarily. Though Alice understood Rin acted out of concern, she felt momentarily flustered. Rin insisted on taking him away first. At that moment, Miss, who had gone to buy drinks, returned. Seeing Iska about to be taken, Ms. desperately released her astral energy in an attempt to reclaim him but was frozen by Alice. After forcibly taking Iska away, Rin planned to bring him to the nebulous sovereignty, but Alice vehemently opposed this, fearing his former identity as an Imperial Saint disciple would be exposed, leading not only to interrogation and lifelong imprisonment, but even execution by the Queen. The two decided to head to the nearest territory instead. During the journey, Alice playfully teased the sleeping Iska, until a sudden darting kitten forced their vehicle to halt. Iska, thrown by inertia, fell onto Alice, who shoved him away, waking him from his slumber. Staring at the handcuffs now on his wrists, he gradually recalled being deceived by them. Alice asserted it was his own fault for drinking the beverage so easily, to which Iska responded with undisguised disdain for her justification. Meanwhile, the Empire planned to infiltrate the nebulous sovereignty to rescue the captured Iska. However, those without an astral crest could not pass the nebulous sovereignty's customs inspection, necessitating the use of a small device that concentrated and projected astral energy to imprint a temporary astral crest onto the skin. During prior events, Ms. had obtained a genuine astral crest, becoming a witch, and to conceal this fact, Jin sought to use the counterfeit device to pass off the fake as real. In truth, Commander Rissia had already noticed the deception, but chose not to expose it. Armed with the forged astral crests, the group smoothly passed the border inspection. Later, with Rissia's assistance, they infiltrated a prison only to grow suspicious. Was Iska truly held here? In reality, Rishia's objective was not to rescue him, but to follow orders from Imperial higher-ups to free the transcendent demon imprisoned there, aiming to recruit it against the nebulous sovereignty. These three were merely decoys to distract the enemy. Meanwhile, Iska was comfortably enjoying a luxurious hotel suite. Originally, Rin intended to lock him in a dark cell, but Alice argued that mistreating a prisoner would draw criticism. Though Rin feared Iska might attack her, she insisted on staying behind to monitor him while Alice slept in the adjacent room. Once alone, Rin initiated her premeditated plan. She would claim Imperial soldiers attempted to escape and stabbed her, forcing her to execute them in self-defense. To Rin, Iska was the greatest obstacle to the princess's success, and she resolved to eliminate him for her sake. Meanwhile, in her room, Alice reminisced about her first meal with Iska. She then left her room to ask Iska what he wanted to eat, only to find Rin pinning Iska down on the sofa, leaving Alice momentarily stunned. Noticing Alice's arrival, Iska urged Rin to stop.
Mind if I join? It would appear you're having a good time.
To prevent Rin from harming Iska again, Alice handcuffed herself to him. Staring at the handcuffs, Iska realized a critical issue. Does this mean we'll have to stay together even when using the bathroom or bathing? Alice suddenly reacted, prompted by his words, and felt the urge to use the restroom. However, the handcuff key was with Rin, whom she had just driven out earlier. After a brief commotion, Alice prepared to bathe and rest, leaving Iska under Rin's supervision. After her bath, Alice habitually wrapped herself in only a towel, inadvertently revealing the astral crest on her back to Iska. The atmosphere immediately turned solemn. Alice asked how he viewed this mark, whether as a demon's curse or a monster's identity. Though these were perspectives held by Imperial citizens, Alice didn't care about others' opinions, seeing the astral crest as her pride. In response, Iska shared his thoughts, mentioning Ms., and stating that even after she was branded with the astral crest and became a witch, he still respected her. He also asserted that the century-long war stemmed not from the astral crest itself, but from irreconcilable national ideologies and stances.
What do you think of me, huh?
A fierce rival.
Though the answer was blunt, it was exactly what Alice wanted to hear, dispelling the lingering frustration in her heart. At that moment, Iska reminded her that her robe had slipped. Realizing this, Alice insisted on seeing Iska exposed in return. After her antics, Iska found it difficult to sleep, quietly contemplating the lonely nightscape, though its serenity was superficial. For beneath it lay a prison housing countless dangerous criminals. Deep within the towering prison spire at the center was confined Salinger, the self-proclaimed transcendent demon and nebulous sovereignty's most dangerous prisoner, who had attacked the previous queen and attempted to overthrow the nation. Just as Alice casually mentioned him to Iska, a massive explosion erupted from the prison spire. Imperial Saint disciples had infiltrated the tower to free Salinger, intending to leverage his power to capture the current nebulous queen. Salinger's own target was the astral essence of past queens. With no one else capable of stopping him, Alice had no choice but to act, though she lacked confidence. After instructing Rin to prepare a vehicle, she hesitated to ask Iska for help, knowing it was selfish to seek aid from an enemy. Having dirtied the handkerchief Iska previously lent her, she handed him a new one, hinting at farewell. Meanwhile, Mies and the others, trapped in the prison due to Salinger's rampage, lured the guards using Mies as bait, allowing Jin and Nene to eliminate them. As Iska struggled with the handcuffs, a phone rang in Alice's room. His teammates called, and after sharing their situations, they agreed to regroup. Remembering the handkerchief on the table, and Alice's insistence that he take it, Iska rushed to check and discovered the handcuff key inside. Realizing her intent and sensing Alice might be in danger, he immediately decided to head for the prison. Amidst Salinger's prison break, the entire city had descended into chaos under the Empire's invasion. As the next Queen Heir, Alice bore the responsibility of quelling the crisis. When news spread of the princess's personal arrival, the panicked soldiers swiftly regained their morale. Alice immediately assumed command, leading everyone in defending against the external threat. Prioritizing civilian safety, she delegated the task of stopping Salinger to Rin. Meanwhile, Iska reunited with his teammates in the chaos, but chose not to evacuate with them, instead grabbing his weapon and heading straight into the city. At the same time, Rin confronted the escaped Salinger, who dismissed her as insignificant. Refusing to be underestimated, Rin lunged at him, but was repelled by his wind barrier. She summoned a stone gargoyle, which Salinger effortlessly blocked, before shattering it with lightning and hurling the debris at Rin. Salinger's ability to wield multiple elemental magics stemmed from his power to seize others' astral crests, having stolen numerous royal astral essences over the years. Though aware of the vast gap in their strength, Rin fought to buy time for the princess. However, Salinger grew bored of the trivial skirmish. At the critical moment, Iska arrived and rescued Rin, vowing to eliminate Salinger for Alice's sake. Though puzzled why Iska, an Imperial citizen, would aid Nebulous against him, Salinger showed no interest in understanding his motives, dismissing them as mere clowns for his amusement. Salinger's sonic wave attack was sliced apart by Iska. Faced with Salinger's invisible assaults, Iska dodged instinctively and closed in to strike, only to be blocked by a wind barrier. After several exchanges, Salinger acknowledged Iska's skill, while realizing the danger of allowing him proximity. Activating his Earth astral powers, Salinger unleashed a surge of scorching magma. Thanks to Rin's warning, Iska narrowly evaded. Meanwhile, as Alice led soldiers in quelling the city's chaos, she was ambushed by Nameless. Alice swiftly countered and repelled him. Enraged by Nameless's actions within her nation, Alice prepared to retaliate, but Nameless clarified he was merely stalling to buy time for Salinger's escape before retreating. Glancing upward, Alice spotted a familiar figure beside Salinger, her eyes briefly flashing with surprise. Salinger then sought to demonstrate the essence of astral power by merging two opposing energies, striving to reach higher dimensional extremes. Iska charged toward the descending flames in an attempt to sever them, but by disrupting the balance of ice and fire, the flames instead surged violently. Witnessing Iska engulfed in the inferno, Salinger arrogantly mocked him, yet Rin remained adamant that Iska was still alive after all. He had once defeated the progenitor Nebulous. As Salinger scornfully dismissed her claim, Iska emerged from the flames like a phoenix reborn, leaving Salinger stunned and incredulous. Iska's twin swords existed as two halves of a unified whole. The black sword severed astral powers, while the white sword replicated them. He had survived by encasing himself in ice to withstand the flame's scorching heat. Though extremely perilous, Iska refused to betray Alice's expectations. When Salinger unleashed wind and lightning astral powers against him again, Rin summoned stone gargoyles to intercept the attack, redirecting Salinger's fury toward her. Alice held the exhausted Rin in her arms, her heart swelling with emotion as she witnessed Iska fighting alone. While she initially anticipated a coordinated combo attack, it became clear that Iska alone was sufficient to handle Salinger's current level. Realizing the timing was not yet ripe, Salinger ultimately retreated by leaping back into the deepest layer of the prison, bringing the incident to a close. After bidding farewell to Alice, Iska departed Nebulous sovereignty with his teammates. Meanwhile, two figures resembling Nameless appeared at the Imperial airport. It was later revealed that the one who had clashed with Alice was Rissia in disguise, concealing her true capabilities. Though Salinger's escape had failed, the Empire achieved its goal, diverting attention to infiltrate special forces into Nebulous's central region. Following these events, not only did Alice's fondness for Iska grow, but even Rin's perception of him shifted slightly, though she remained mindful of their opposing allegiances. Unbeknownst to them, their conversation was overheard by Nebulous's third princess, Sisbel. Upon hearing the name Iska, the Imperial swordsman her sister cared about identical to that of her own savior years ago, she couldn't help but doubt the coincidence. Later, Sisbel received a royal decree from the Queen to investigate an independent Eastern nation rumored to be aligning with the Empire. As Alice handled official duties, she heard ceremonial music signaling the return of the first princess. Out of courtesy, she intended to greet her sister, encountering her younger sister with the same intention along the way. However, Sisbel turned and walked away. To Rin, Sisbel had once been even more spirited than Alice, making her recent transformation puzzling. Compounded by the upcoming queen succession, tensions between the sisters had grown awkward. Seeking respite from the strained atmosphere, Alice wished to step out, but the current mission had already been assigned to Sisbel. Upon returning, Elatir immediately sensed collusion between someone in the Nebulous sovereignty and the Empire, prompting her to visit Zoa's residence to test him. The masked man claimed ignorance, and though Elatir did not expose him outright, both understood the truth. By evening, Sisbel prepared to depart the Nebulous sovereignty for the independent nation mentioned by her mother, accompanied only by her elderly butler. After being rescued by Iska from the Empire and returning to Nebulous a year prior, she had been suspected of being an Imperial spy by several officials, leaving her to trust only the butler who had watched her grow up. The next day, Iska and his teammates coincidentally arrived at the same independent nation for a vacation. Due to Rissia's exploitation, their work hours had far exceeded regulation originally capped at 30 consecutive days. They had worked 45 days straight, prompting the Imperial Medical Division to mandate a 60-day rest period. Seizing the opportunity, they aimed to find a method to conceal Mrs. Astral Crest during their break. After discussions, they decided to vacation far from the Empire. Exhausted from the day's activities, Ms. fell asleep, prompting Jin to carry her back to the inn. The remaining two planned to purchase supplies, but Nene suddenly needed to use the restroom, leaving Iska waiting alone. The moment their eyes met, both recognized each other. Just as Sisbel tried to speak, she was interrupted by Nene's return, allowing Sisbel to slip away. Though startled by this dramatic encounter, Sisbel's heart raced with excitement as she blushed, eagerly telling her elderly steward she had finally found her ideal bodyguard. Meanwhile, Alice grumbled over her mountain of paperwork until the Queen arrived, requesting her accompaniment to Sisbel's room. Concerned about her daughter's recent behavioral changes, the Queen sought clues in her absence. Alice soon noticed the newspaper on the bed, stunned by its contents.
Impossible! Sisbel knows Iska? But how?
Determined to find Iska, Sisbel returned to their daytime meeting spot, using her astral powers to replay past events, a skill that had earned her this mission from the Queen. Tracing the visions to Iska's inn, she unlocked his door with a master key. Mistaking her for an intruder, Iska pinned Sisbel to the floor until moonlight revealed her face.
I'd appreciate it if you would get off of me.
Oh, sure, sorry.
Apologizing for barging in, Sisbel offered her bracelet as thanks for his past rescue, but Iska declined. She then pleaded for him to become her guardian in Nebulous, where she trusted no one. Iska, recalling his similar refusal to Alice on a cliff, declined again. Sisbel left dejected, accidentally leaving her bracelet behind. Elsewhere, after reading the newspaper, Alice feared her meeting with Iska had been exposed. Rin speculated. Sisbel suspected Alice of colluding with the Empire, yet neither realized Sisbel had actually fallen for Iska. To resolve the situation, Rin proposed to the Queen that Alice also visit the independent state, reasoning that as an older sister, she might help her sibling open up. The Queen, as a mother, wished to uncover the reason behind Sisbel's recent changes and agreed, though Alice departed without Rin and remained unaware of Iska's presence there. Meanwhile, Elatir resumed her prior discussion with the masked man, suspecting her sister of collaborating with the Empire. Feigning reluctance to harm familial bonds, she secretly sought to eliminate rivals for the queenship by manipulating others. The masked man, eager to stir strife among the three sisters, agreed to assist Elatir, vowing to address the so-called traitorous matter she described. Simultaneously, the Empire received intelligence that Sisbel was alone in the independent state. Eager to seize the chance to capture a legitimate descendant of the Nebulous royal bloodline, the higher-ups dispatched secret weapons to hunt the witch. To avoid implicating his teammates, Iska moved to a different inn with them the next day to evade Sisbel, yet she quickly located them again. Despite being rejected by Iska the previous night, Sisbel refused to give up. Iska wondered how she kept finding them, unaware that her astral power allowed her to replay past events like a projector, revealing his decision to switch inns that afternoon. To demonstrate goodwill, Sisbel confided her secrets to Iska, admitting she was the third princess of Nebulous. Iska was stunned to learn she was Alice's sister. Sisbel explained that someone was plotting to assassinate the Queen and incite a full-scale war between Nebulous and the Empire to plunge the world into chaos. While her astral power revealed this scheme, the traitor's identity remained unknown, leaving her unable to trust anyone in Nebulous. She pleaded for Iska to act as her guard, believing eliminating the traitor targeting the Queen would prevent war. However, Iska declined, as their ideals diverged, unlike Alice, who shared his goal of ending the century-long conflict between their nations. During their conversation, a masked man appeared behind Sisbel, recording their discussion and accusing her of colluding with the Empire to arrest her. With no way to refute the claims, Sisbel fled in desperation. At that moment, the Empire's secret weapons arrived.
It can't be.
Iska tried to rescue her, but was blocked by the masked man, who mocked his lack of weapons until his teammates arrived with his twin swords, startling everyone with the appearance of the Empire's experimental weapons. The mech began detecting the astral energy on the battlefield, and Mrs. Astral Crest was discovered. Iska and the others immediately sensed danger, but the mech prioritized executing the Imperial High Command's orders. After eliminating the Nebulous citizens obstructing it, the mech leaped up and pursued the fleeing Sisbel. The masked man sought to prevent her capture by the Empire, but just as he moved to act, he was interrupted. Regarding the masked man's previous act of kicking Miss into the vortex, which transformed her into a witch, Jin vowed to settle the score with the masked man. Ignoring the fact that they were in an independent nation, the masked man ordered his subordinates to attack them both. Meanwhile, the mech attempted to capture Sisbel, but the energy sphere it fired was sliced apart by Iska's blade. Now aware of Miss's condition, the mech had to be destroyed before it could transmit data to headquarters. Iska bought time for Nene, only to be flung aside by the mech, which charged towards Sisbel again. Iska rescued her once more, leaving Sisbel conflicted. Though he had refused to aid her, why would he save her now? Iska had his own reasons, but he would not hand Sisbel over to the Empire or the masked man. By then, Nene had finished preparations, firing several anti-mech missiles. The direct hits temporarily halted the mech. Meanwhile, the masked man taunted the other two, but with his recorder destroyed by Jin and Miss unleashing unknown astral energy, he deemed further entanglement futile. The battle concluded with his retreat. However, Nene's earlier missile attack had left the mech completely unharmed. Switching to secondary energy supply, it prepared to fire its cannon. Sisbel quickly realized the mech's power originated from astral energy. Iska swiftly turned to shield her as they dropped to the ground. Yet the mech's devastating attack could be fired repeatedly in quick succession. Seeing this, Iska urged Nene to quickly evacuate the surrounding people before charging at the mecha with his sword.
Replay the past! Show what the stars have seen!
Under the cover of Sisbel's abilities, Iska shattered the mecha's core with a single strike. Believing it defeated, he was stunned the next moment as the mecha evolved once again, seizing the opportunity to absorb Sisbel into its body. Faced with this unknown monstrosity, Iska faltered briefly but grew desperate to rescue Sisbel. Overwhelmed by the creature's relentless assault, he struggled to hold his ground until Alice finally arrived. Both were startled to see each other there. Now united to save her sister, they prepared to unleash a coordinated attack.
How did it do that?
The mechanical abomination clearly transcended mere machinery, and Alice instantly recognized it as an astral entity. Yet this raised the question: how could the Empire, which despised astral beings, create such a weapon? Witnessing the monster rampaging unchecked, the two once again reached a consensus just, as when facing the witch progenitor Nebulous before believing its existence left no room for future peace, thus resolving to eradicate the creature completely. As a triumphant melody surged, both sides launched their final assaults. Two opposing energies collided violently, but ultimately Alice and Iska prevailed. The monster, its core shattered, crumbled into dust, while Sisbel, protected by an energy shield, remained unharmed. Upon awakening, Sisbel noticed the pair standing nearby and questioned her sister about her relationship with Iska. Alice suddenly turned Sunder, bluntly denying knowing him while signaling Iska to play along with the lie. Their clumsy acting was instantly seen through by Sisbel. Trapped between the sisters, Iska sighed helplessly until his teammates' calls provided an excuse to slip away. Meanwhile, two Imperial Saint disciples attempted to report Iska's actions to the Emperor, only to find Emperor Yun Mellingen had unusually ventured out for fresh air. A newspaper on his desk revealed Transcendent Demon Salinger's successful prison break. Under a great tree, the Emperor encountered Salinger himself. Simultaneously, Elatier of the Nebulous Sovereignty was summoned by the Queen, who suspected her of leaking Sisbel's whereabouts to the Empire and even questioned her true identity. In the story's closing scene, Iska and Alice returned to where they first met, forging a pact to continue concealing their relationship.